Hello, viewers. I'm glad you're here. Today, you'll see me brew a single-stage brew in my large onggi jar. I'll give you a sneak peek at the results. Notice the proportion of clear wine to sediment here. It's less than 10% sediment, I think, which is very good, and the cheongju is quite clear, so that's a hint about my goal here. So if you're interested in producing more cheongju, more clear wine when you brew makgeolli, keep watching. And every time I do something that I think produces more cheongju, I'll show this symbol. Here's the recipe I'm going to follow. It's just a single stage recipe. So let's brew. Here's the sweet rice. I'll use 3 kilograms of sweet rice. And gently wash and rinse the rice. It should take about 10 minutes. Don't need to do it any longer than that. I do think this step is important. Cloudy rice water could affect the brew, so the water should be clear when you rinse it. And soak it for at least 3 hours. Overnight is okay. If the rice is not soaked, it will not gelatinize completely later when we cook it, so there'll be residual starch, and that will result in a cloudy brew and more sediment. So while the rice is soaking, let's look at the nuruk. So this nuruk has a strong flavor, but its saccharification power is good. So I'm going to use 300 grams of nuruk. And it's important to use good nuruk. Weak nuruk would result in incomplete saccharification, and again, resulting in residual starch, which means a cloudy brew and more sediment. So what's the solution? Well, it's give your nuruk some sun, some direct sunlight. That's the babche method. It's just a good way to prepare your nuruk. Now I'm going to sanitize my onggi and my cheesecloths with steam, and that'll take about 20 minutes. And I'll steam the lid of the onggi too. Now I can drain the soaked rice and rinse off any residue. Let it drain for 30 minutes. And then put it in the steamer. Spread it out evenly, cover it up, and I'm going to steam it for 30 minutes, but that's not all, because I'm going to open it up and then turn the rice over gently. And I'm going to steam it for 10 more minutes after that. So the purpose here is to ensure that the rice is evenly cooked. So reduce the heat to low and steam it for 10 more minutes. Uneven cooking results in incomplete saccharification again and residual starch. So again, a cloudy brew and more sediment. Don't want that. Now that the rice is evenly cooked, lift it out and spread it out to cool on these racks. As it's cooling, I'm going to cover it with a damp cloth. So it's dampened with boiled water, and the reason is because dried out rice is another situation that can result in incomplete saccharification, resulting in a cloudy brew and more sediment. As we're waiting for the rice to cool, I can bring in the nuruk from the sun. Let's get the nuruk ready. And to get the nuruk in peak condition, I'm soaking it in water here. I'm adding 600 milliliters of water. I'm also adding half a teaspoon of wine yeast and half a teaspoon each of these two enzymes, amylase enzyme and this glucoamylase enzyme. So these optional ingredients, the yeast and the enzymes, they're going to enhance saccharification and fermentation. Now let's see if the rice has cooled down. Yeah, it's below 30 degrees Celsius, below 86 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's put it in the onggi and intermix the nuruk mixture as I'm filling up the onggi. And let's add 2.4 liters of water, so that results in 3 liters total, so a 1-to-1 rice to water ratio here. And then I mix by hand for 15 minutes. And it's the same story. Poor mixing will result in incomplete saccharification and residual starch. So all these things that I'm doing are an attempt to make the most cheongju as possible, have as much clear wine as possible. So the next day, let's take a look. I'm going to want to stir this now, but first I listen for bubbles. And let's stir twice a day for the first 2 days. And it's already softened a lot. There's already a lot of liquid here. So it's off to a good start, but we won't know until it's finished fermenting. Next day, I'm going to stir it again 2 more times, in the morning and evening. It is very liquid now. It's looking good. That's all the stirring it needs. So now let's watch the progress of fermentation day by day in my onggi. But I'm not stirring it anymore. It's just staying in the jar. And well, as you can tell, it's looking good. Fermentation is going well. I'm going to let it go as long as possible. I want fermentation to be complete. And that's going to happen around day 16. It's quite quiet. So let's look inside because you really want to see what's going on inside. So this is day 3 inside the jar. Looking fine. And as the days go on, you can see a bit more liquid rising to the top. It'll become shinier on the top. Maybe... So now this is day 10. Yeah, it's getting a bit shiny on top. So that's also a good sign that fermentation is almost done when you get that clear layer of liquid on the top. You can really see it on day 15 and day 16. It's very quiet now. Fermentation is almost completely stopped, so I've let it ferment completely. This is intentional. That's what I wanted to do. And it's now time to bottle. Now this jar is so big, I can't do what I normally do, tip the whole container into a filter bag. So I have to scoop it out a bit at a time into the filter bag. And this is, my metal bowl here is just big enough to hold the results. So this is as much as I can do at one time. So 1 scoop at a time into the filter bag. Luckily I have these giant filter bags. And then I pour the last bit in. You can see it just barely fits. And it's already filtering itself, pouring through the bag, but a lot of squeezing is going to be necessary. I have plenty of liquid already, but there's so much more inside the bag. So I have to carefully squeeze every part of the bag, get the liquid out. If you like this video, please click that like button and subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when I publish a new video on the subject of rustic Asian rice wine every week. And please share this video wherever it is appropriate. I appreciate your help in spreading the word about rustic Asian rice wine. Okay, we got that squeezed out. And there's 1,217 grams of jjigae. That's quite a lot. So the amount of jjigae, I didn't really reduce that with my efforts. But there's plenty of makgeolli to bottle. This is undiluted. So I can fill these bottles with undiluted makgeolli. Now I'm going to make some bonus bowls as well. I'm going to add some water to the jjigae because there's lots of good alcohol still in the jjigae, good flavor. So squeeze that well again. And refilter the jjigae. Get a bit more out of it. And this will actually be quite a bit. It'll be 2 complete bowls of bonus. And after filtering again, there's 1,000 grams of jjigae left. Okay, so I get 2 complete bowls. These are my larger bowls. So that's something I can taste today, but I'll set aside the rest for later. So what did I get for my efforts here? Well, the taste of my bonus bowls, it sort of has a bitter start. It's strong. There's more flavor than normal, and it does have an astringent end. So that's a good result. So my efforts during this recipe have been to produce as much cheongju as possible, producing as much clear wine as possible. But I haven't told you why I want this yet. So I'll tell you that in a minute. But also, we haven't even seen if that has been successful yet, if I am going to get a good amount of clear wine from this recipe. So for that, we're going to have to wait a few days. These bottles have to rest in the fridge for a few days and they will settle. So let's see what happens. So it's been 3 days. Let's have a taste. And as you can see, it's settled nicely. There's the layer of sediment on the bottom is small. It's relatively clear. It gets mixed up very easily though. So I'm going to taste this bottle, and I will taste the cheongju first. And maybe even I'll explain why I'm brewing this particular recipe. So fruity aroma. Yeah. Okay, nice. And the color is light yellow, a bit sharp at the beginning. Yeah, it tastes quite a bit of alcohol. And then, but pretty clean. And then ending more astringent. It's not too sweet, and just a bit tart. But it does have a pretty sharp initial bite to it. Yeah, the end is a bit rounder. Okay, so that's nice, considering it was just bottled 3 days ago. Quite a nice cheongju. And if you watched my earlier videos, you know that if you saw this kind of clear alcohol in in a store, it would be called yakju because cheongju is reserved as the word used for clear alcohol brewed with koji instead of nuruk. And if you brew it with nuruk, then it's called yakju. Okay. Other thing to point out is that there's no carbonation in this at all. So I guess I let it ferment long enough. And let's mix it up. Okay, mixes quite easily. There's still a bit of sediment on the bottom here. It has a richer aroma now. Maybe more lactic. Okay, the texture is very good. Still has the bite at the beginning. But I do like it better like this right now. As a fresh takju. Surprisingly, it's not that thick. Color is nice and dense, but it doesn't have a thick texture. Feels good in your mouth. A bit sharp, quite a lot of alcohol. Yeah, quite strong. And yeah, ends with that mineral taste that now I'm pretty sure I associate with adding those purified enzymes. Really emphasizes the mineral taste at the end. Yeah. Okay, so very nice. A bit harsh because it is only 3 days, but I'm sure in a few weeks it'll mellow a bit. So this has a good taste. I'm not tasting any bad nuruk flavor. It's just overall a bit harsher than I think it will be later. So why did I brew this? Well, there's a few reasons. First of all, I had this nuruk that was pretty strong tasting, and I wanted to use it. It's more than a year old. I wanted to use it before it became too weak. So I wanted to make a large batch, and I wanted to have more. If it didn't turn out, because the nuruk had too strong of a flavor, I wanted to be able to potentially distill like one bottle at a time. I could distill this into soju very easily. So I wanted it to settle well, and this certainly does settle well. And with it seems like it has a relatively high alcohol content, so that's going to be good for distilling too. Just for various experiments that I want to do. So I wanted it for that, but it seems like it turned out perfectly good to drink as takju, so that's a bonus. I won't need all 6 bottles for soju, so I get to drink some of this. I thought I was just trying to make use of some old nuruk I had and potentially use it for my soju experiments. But since it tastes good, I'll be able to drink this as takju and serve it to people, no problem. So that's the reason I brewed this. It was the right thing to do at the time. And it's just a perfectly normal recipe, and it turned out well. And I'm glad for that. Let me know what you're brewing in the comments. What are you drinking? What are you brewing? And what do you want to see next? Thank you for watching.